everybody, welcome to yet another video. So today we're having a little look and a little play with the Meiji F55, the F55. Now this is a micro gun rather than a mini gun. It's only available in 0.5 of a millimeter or 0.8 of a millimeter. This particular one is the 0.8 millimeter version. And I originally got this about 3 years ago, so this is quite an old video. Apologies for the quality. I have got a better camera these days, but I thought it was still worth putting it out there. And what triggered me, or what triggered my mind to do that, was a chap yesterday on Instagram sent me a message, and he was saying about, you know, he'd seen my video on the F55. I'll put a link in the description if you want to see that. As I say, it was doing, well, I think I said it was doing a wheel for someone, and something like this is ideal for that. But he was saying about, can it do bigger stuff? And that reminded me, at the time of the video going out, there was about 3 or 4 people that said, you know, can it do bigger stuff? And that's what led me to do this video, and you know, I just hadn't put it out, but I was just practicing with it really. This is one of my practice tanks, and I was just practicing to see how it coped with bigger things. So what we're doing with this is we're just doing a base coat and a clear coat. As I say, it's one of my practice tanks, so the idea of it is just to get as best finish as we can. We're not trying to match anything, but it's a good way of testing the smaller guns to do slightly bigger items. To give you an idea, this tank takes about 150 millilitres of base coat and about the same of clear coat. So it would be the equivalent to a small wing on a car. Some of my practice wings, I've got 2 wings that I use for back-to-back testing of spray guns. Something like that uses about 180 millilitres. So it's about, and that's a bigger wing. So you know, it's about the wing, the wing of a car, or the fender of a car, to give you an idea of size wise. So it's perfectly possible to do bigger stuff with these smaller guns, although it's not ideal, and I wouldn't pretend for 1 minute it's ideal, and it will take time. Overlapping is quite crucial because it takes longer to do something. If you're doing bigger items with smaller guns, if you don't get it right, you find it more difficult. Not so much with base coat, but particularly with clear coat, it's difficult to go back to it, because once you've laid the clear coat down, and it would depend what clear coat you're using, what hardener you're using, and what the temperature is. But if you're using a fast or an extra fast hardener and the temperature is quite warm, by the time you get to the bottom of the panel, the stuff at the top is starting to run out less and cure less. So if you put another layer on top where you've missed something, it starts to notice. You start to get a drier edge because it's just not wet enough to absorb the new coat that you're putting on. So when you're using a small gun to do bigger things, the overlapping is quite crucial, because you can't necessarily go straight back to what you've just done and correct it. So you need to get that right if you're doing bigger areas with the smaller guns. But otherwise they work really well. I get people often contact me and say, you know, I've got some bike fairing to do, and they're looking at, you know, I don't know, for example, what a SATA X5500, which is fine. You know, it's a good gun, but it's quite a big gun, and you really don't need that if that's the biggest thing you're doing is fairing panels. You really don't need it. It's nice to have it, of course, but something like this is ideal for the user at home, I think, really, and for spot repairers, particularly mobile spot repairers. A lot of, or smart repairers as we often call them, a lot of people that watch the channel do mobile repairs. And one of the things that obviously with mobile repairs you're interested in is the air consumption of the gun. So this gun is designed to run, according to Meiji, anywhere between 1 bar and 2 bar. So anywhere between 14.5 and 29 psi. For this particular video, I find it needs the higher pressure really. So I use 1.5 bar which is about what, 22 psi, something like that, 23 psi for the base coat. And for clear coat, which will be coming up soon, I used 2 bar, so which is equivalent to 29 psi, and I found that give a fantastic finish. I didn't use full fluid initially on the base coat. In fact, I didn't use it at all, full fluid on the base coat, and the reason for that, and something else people often ask about settings on the gun, it does depend on your substrate. It does depend on the base. Now this was, because this is one of my practice tanks, it has a lot of different coats on it and a lot of different uses, so I try not to go too mad with the base coat in case it reacts with the clear coat. As long as the clear coat's been on there long enough, it should be okay. But if I'm not sure about the base coat, then I just put extra coats on, but just put the coats lighter on, and then you can put a heavier coat towards the end if you think everything's going okay. It just helps avoid reactions. Someone the other day sent me a message, and he said that he was using 2K primer, and he was putting 2 coats of UK primer on, and it was reacting with what's underneath. Now normally with 2K primer you're okay. It depends how much reducer or thinners you put in with it, but he was just putting it on too heavy because his substrate was effectively, he'd done some repairs, and on the edges where you get the repaired section meeting the existing paint or clear coat, if you put the stuff on too heavy, it can react on those edges, and that's exactly what I was trying to avoid here. So I used lower settings for the fluid output than I would do if it had been done in primer and then you were going directly onto primer. It doesn't matter really, you get to where you want to be anyway by using the gun and adjusting the gun to what you think is best at the time. But certainly for base coat and clear coat, I found this a fantastic little gun. I suppose the thing that it's up against would be something like the LPH50, not really the LPH80, because the LPH80 is available up to 1.2, and as I say, this is only available up to 0.8. The LPH50 goes up to 1.0, which would probably be better if you had bigger stuff to do, although it's still by no means for big areas, because it's still a small micro gun. But certainly this gun, from a point of view of finish, build and reliability, will be exceptional. I haven't used mine loads at all, but the Meiji brand is built really well, so I have no doubt that these things will last for years. But obviously you can see the quality of the spraying straight away, and I can tell you now that they actually spray excellently. Definitely up there with the LPH50, which is also a brilliant little gun. A lot of people like my channel because I tend to go into the smaller guns as well as the bigger guns. I do like a bigger gun, and I have little use most of the time for a bigger gun, but I do like something that blasts it out. But my roots have always been in smaller guns, and certainly for something like cycle frames and the like, something like this would be absolutely ideal, because it uses little air, so you get relatively low overspray. Although I will say the LPH50 produces less overspray simply because it works as well as this at a lower pressure. Although, having said that, this is actually a faster gun. I think the higher pressure allows it to put out more material. It certainly seems to put out more material than the equivalent sized LPH50, although they don't actually make a 0.8 LPH50. They go from 0.6 to 1.0, so it goes 0.4, 0.6 and 1.0. But certainly, I find that this, even in 0.8, will put out more material than the LPH50 in 1.0. although the LPH50 in 1.0 does give a bigger fan, a wider fan. So it's horses for courses really. But as far as finish goes, these things are absolutely ideal. I think, I'm not sure if I said or not, but Meiji say between 1 and 2 bar to use these, and they quote about 1.5 CFM air consumption at 1 bar, and they quote 2.3 CFM air consumption at 2 bar. So like I'm using it here now with the clear coat, you're talking about 2.3 CFM. So it's ideal for small compressors, and most people, even with very small compressors, will be able to get a good supply of 2.3 CFM. And don't be too hung up on your tank size. I get a lot of messages with people saying, will, you know, the various reviews I've done on guns, people put a message up and they say, I've got a, you know, a 30 gallon compressor or a 90 litre compressor or whatever, will it run this gun? Well, the tank is purely the storage area. That's like your reserve. The main equation you need is the output of the compressor. And if the compressor is like a 14 CFM with a 25 litre tank, the size of the tank, 25 litre, is really small, but it doesn't matter because you've got a huge supply of air. So the compressor will come on and quickly fill up the tank while you're still spraying. So yes, the compressor will come on and off quite a lot, but you'll have ample air there to do what you want with. So don't get too hung up on the tank size. It's much more relevant, the output of the compressor. But you can see how well this thing's made. It's got like a sort of a chrome finish, although it's actually a polished finish rather than a chrome finish. So it will normally last really, really well. Some of the Iwatas you get, as they get a bit older, the chrome tends to chip and it just delaminates slightly. But you can see the finish you get with these. Lovely finish. As I say, apologies for the old video, but I did want to dig this out because the guy that messaged me yesterday twigged my mind to get this video out and get it narrated and so that you can see it really, because the wheel that I did with the F55 probably didn't do it justice. I mean, it looked fine, but it's capable of more than that. And as you can see, it's a reasonable size pattern. The pattern with the clear coat is a bit bigger than with the base coat, and that's because I had it on full fluid for clear coat, whereas I didn't on the base coat. But you're probably looking at about a 4-inch pattern, which is, you know, is reasonably good. And for the air consumption, then you know, you can't grumble at all. I wouldn't advise trying to do, you know, the side of your car with it if you've got the whole side to do, because it would take you some time. But certainly if you've got a couple of panels just to touch up, then absolutely ideal. And it's a good alternative to the Iwatas, and you know, a good brand that's really well made. Anyway guys, as always, thank you for watching the video. Sorry I go on a bit, but I know some of you do like that. And if you are enjoying the videos, maybe think about giving us a thumbs up and maybe a subscription. And apologies for the fly that's just landed on my paintwork. All right guys, thanks for watching as always. Cheers, bye bye.